This week in rumors, we've got a lot of love, if you can call it that, for the Fantastic Four. We have not one rumor, but we also have a leaked plot, supposedly. We're probably going to put that one to bed, though, as well as Half-Life 3 in the rumor mill, and this is a good one.
Maybe. It's classified.
Hello, nerds, and welcome to the Rumor Mill. You have found the appropriate cheat code to get to the news before it becomes news. Here, we will discuss rumors in the pop culture and nerdy realm of things. Then we will discuss the probability that those rumors are legitimate. And then finally, probably a little bit of my own personal speculation. If you want the more concrete news that has already become news, then there is a full news show over on the main channel called The Week in Nerddom, which you can find linked down in the description, as well as at the end of this video. Now, let's see what all of those rumor mongers have to say, and which of them are just plain full of poop. All right, so we have no confirmations or refutations to talk about. We have no new sources for old rumors. We do have some new rumors to get into, and some speculation as well, but that's going to be afterwards. Let's get into new rumors. First up on new rumors, we have a Spider-Man rumor, but it's not a Spider-Man movie rumor necessarily. It is Spider-Man making a cameo in somebody else's movie. Fantastic Four, the First Steps movie, is supposedly going to be getting a cameo from Peter Parker. This one, I will be very, very surprised. It's not completely out of the question, but just the way that the Sony contract, from what little we know of the Sony contract, how it has worked so far is anytime they use Peter Parker, Sony has to be involved with the project. As we know it to be right now, Sony has no involvement with the Fantastic Four project. So there's not going to be any sort of Spider-Man in the Fantastic Four project. It's just not how this is going to work. So likelihood that we're going to see Spider-Man, like I said, it's not completely off the table, but it's teetering. We're going to say about 30% likely that Spider-Man is going to have some sort of cameo in the Fantastic Four movie. It will be cool if it happens. The most likely way that it could happen would be if they are on some other, in the multiverse, in some other universe, in some other world, in other Earth. It's going to be a different version of Spider-Man, because the rumor does say Spider-Man and not Peter Parker specifically. So will we see some other Spider-Man? That's why we went as high as 30%. But even so, Spider-Man is the license. That is what Sony owns. So that's why we can only go about 30%, because they still have to be involved for it to be Spider-Man. Just if it's not Peter Parker, they're probably going to require less involvement, which would be why we hadn't heard about it. Anyway, continuing on. Our next rumor has to do with the X-Men. So this one has to do with plot issues, which already tells you one thing at the very least. So the plot apparently is going to now be focusing on two characters. Specifically, those two characters are going to be Gambit and Kitty Pryde. Kitty Pryde makes a little bit of sense. Gambit does not, especially considering the rumor does go on to say that it is likely going to be a recast Gambit and not Channing Tatum's Gambit. So I really can't buy into this, not necessarily because of the Channing Tatum element of it, but the big red flag here is that we know this at all at this point, because from what we understand of where they're at with the mutants, the X-Men movie is still at least 4 years away, or 3 years away rather. At least 3 years away. It's going to be happening after Secret Wars. So do they have a scriptwriter? Nah, not bloody likely. Do they have a director? Possibly. But that's it. So like the fact that somebody's speculating that we're going to see Gambit and Kitty Pryde, 20% likely, and that is being generous. The process, they're still finishing Secret Wars at this point. They haven't moved past it behind the scenes. This is a very, very slim chance that we're going to be seeing an X-Men movie that is going to focus on two secondary characters. Kitty Pryde, again, makes a little bit of sense because in the comics, she's pretty elemental in a lot of really big storylines, but Gambit, that's the other red flag. Is like Gambit's a great character. I loved me some Remy LeBeau, but But do normies know Gambit outside of Channing Tatum? Not so much. Or outside of the cartoon, which, I mean, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched the animated show, the reboot, the X-Men 97, he dies in like the first or second episode, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, that's just weird. Though that is the only reason why we went as high as 20% likely, is because them killing him off in the animated show, considering the animated show is expected to continue for some years, would make it less confusing for normies. But then the fact that he shows up in Deadpool kind of squashes that argument for it. So yeah, 20%. We're going to stop rambling, I promise. From there, we have another Blade rumor. This time, it's outright canceled, according to the rumor. So the interesting part about this is, Blade is still on the release slate. There is some question as to whether or not the release slate has been updated, because a lot of things have been going on recently. So very possibly it is being moved back. We do know also Mahershala Ali has been cast in the new Jurassic World reboot, which, again, why do you need a reboot? Something that was just rebooted like 8 years ago. Doesn't make any sense, whatever. But we have already heard from Mahershala Ali's people saying that he is still doing Blade. This is still going forward. It's just they have had so many setbacks that they have been set back so far. They have been set back so far that he's got plenty of time to do the Jurassic World movie, knock that out in a couple of months, and then be back in time to start filming scenes for Blade. He can also read more than one script at a time. So, like, let's not get ahead of ourselves on this one, nerds. I'm putting 20% on this one as well. There is just very little likelihood that this has been completely scrapped. We already know, they've told us as much, that it has been pushed back excessively. They haven't told us exactly the reasons why. So if you want to speculate to that, by all means, go for it. But canceled or indefinitely on hiatus? Absolutely not. So from there, let's talk next about another Fantastic Four rumor. This one actually technically is a leak, quote unquote, but it is a leak from 4chan, so that already is telling you how much I believe it. But the leak is a script leak that only has the first 2 acts of the movie as far as the script goes. The big kind of broad strokes with this one is that the supposed script has it that we're going to see Galactus start in, so the first family of comic books, the Richards family, so Reed, Miss Fantastic, Johnny Storm, and let's take that back. Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm, those 4, that little family right there, that is the first family of comic books. They, according to this leaked script, again, we're using that word very loosely, according to this leaked script, they started out in the 616. So they originated in approximately like the 60s or 70s of the 616. They were Reed was doing experiments, yada yada. They teleported to a different universe, which I don't believe the script goes into the delineation of what the universe number was for this one, but we do know that they are in a different universe, but they started in the sacred timeline, the 616, and then they set up shop in that universe, and they're keeping this secret, and that's the first act. And then the second act, we get revealed that the Silver Surfer is watching and is letting people know, or lets them know that Galactus is coming to consume their Earth. And then they start to try and create a portal, basically back to the 616, so that they can get away from that Earth because it's going to be devoured by Galactus. And then Silver Surfer tells Galactus that there is other worlds for him to devour, and so he follows them through the portal, and that's basically the second act. And then again, we don't have a third act in this script. That was not leaked by this leaker. Sounds like an interesting movie. If that is legitimately what happens, like, I'm not going to be opposed to that. Sounds like something I would watch. I have a very difficult time believing anything from this source because 4chan is 4chan. Also, it sounds a little too reliant on people buying into the multiverse for much longer. I know the big rumor is that as of Secret Wars, the multiverse is going to come to some sort of conclusion. So hopefully that's true. But again, I don't know. It's really hard to buy this one. The Big thing here though is 4chan, so we're saying 10% likely. I can't give much credence to anything that comes from there. That's what we got on that one though. So let's go to our next big rumor, and that is Half-Life 3. There's a lot here for this Half-Life 3 rumor, but rumor suggests that there is a new unannounced game from Valve that is going to be Half-Life 3. Some of this has to do with data mines. Some of this has to do with a resume rather. Somebody who has previously worked for Valve that has a secret, or let's see if I can find it. White Sands. They said they worked on a project titled White Sands. White Sands is related to the universe of Half-Life, so that's a bit of a red flag. And also, like I said, some of the data mine stuff in the PlayStation. No, where was it? The White Sands. Where is it? HLX 2021 is blah 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 blah. There was something else, and I apparently did not put in. But there's another piece to this that escapes me at the moment because apparently I didn't put in the notes and I thought I did. But oh, so I'm sorry, I had to read the notes a little closer. It is in there, but so there was a project previously leaked called HLX. HLX also, there's some sort of correlation from that to the to Half-Life. I'm really super rusty on my Half-Life mythology at this point, but that is now believed to be Project White Sands. And that came out in 2021, so it sounds like there's quite a bit of evidence here to point to the very likely non-VR because we did get Half-Life Alyx, but non-VR Half-Life game, which very hopefully will be Half-Life 3. So I'm giving this one because Gaming Rumor comes from a couple of decent sources who have been able to verify at least some of this. And some of this is definitely just going on the obvious White Sands correlation. But we're saying about 85% likely that there is a Half-Life 3 game somewhere in development. Hopefully will be out soon. All right, and then our final rumor for this episode is Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom, new rumor has it that Robert Downey Jr. will not, in fact, be playing Victor Von Doom. Wow, brain fart. Will not be playing Victor Von Doom, but will, in fact, be playing a Tony Stark variant. And then that variant of Tony Stark gets killed in Secret Wars. Does this version of Dr. Doom end somehow as of Secret Wars? I believe that part of this rumor is 100% accurate, but that is not the entire rumor. The entire rumor is that he's going to be playing Tony Stark and not Victor Von Doom. I really, really hope that this is wrong. There's not enough to really go on it. So theoretically, I should be giving this a 50-50 because it could go either way. I just think that our speculation that came out last week is a little bit more solid. It would be a better story to tell, I think. So that, I think, is the preferred way to go, which is the only reason why we went as low as we did this time, but 30% likely that this is going to be the way that Disney Marvel plays this. But yeah, like I said, that is our final rumor for this episode. We do have some speculation to talk about though. This one is homegrown. This is my personal speculation, but I do speculate that we will be moving into a Deadpool ripple of sorts. So this ripple is going to be, there's going to be some movies spinning off of Deadpool. Yes, I know that there is already stuff on the slate that is moving forward that is technically related because it's multiverse stuff and yada, yada, yada. Yes, established. But I think projects, there is going to be some sort of revival of these older IPs. My vote goes to the Channing Tatum Gambit. I really want to see that movie finally come to fruition. And then some sort of finalization for Wesley Snipes' Blade. Be it as some sort of like short special that is only released on Disney Plus or something. I think there's going to be ripples and something is coming out of this that is not currently on the slate because this movie is so huge. Yes, we're going to get another Ryan Reynolds Deadpool movie. That's kind of a given at this point. We've crossed the $1 billion mark by a lot by now. So that's kind of a given. But I think there's going to be something else that spins out of this. That's my speculation. I can't really narrow it down much just yet, but as things kind of progress and we get a little bit more course correction from Kevin Feige, I think we'll be able to fill this one out a little bit more. But that's what we're placing right now in speculation territory, and that's what we got for this part of the episode, The Rumor Mill. That brings us to the end of the video, nerds. Thank you very much for joining me for the news. Once again, there is a full and probably much more up-to-date and recent episode of the news, the full-length version, if you will, called The Week in Nerddom over on the main channel, linked down in the description, and probably link popping up somewhere around my face right about now. So click on that, go check that out as well, or if you prefer your news in more truncated pieces, then by all means, just stick around here and go check out some of the other stuff we offer on this channel. Thank you very much for joining me. We will see you in the next one. Before we go, always remember, nerds, that if it is generally nerdy, it's probably here.